Hello, it's Sunday evening, July 28th, 2019, and this is a continuation of the Reform the Torturers report. And I just got finished having breakfast for dinner because they had me locked in a fetal position defending blows quite a lot on my chin today for some reason. I guess with their electromagnetic chemical weapons. And I guess they would like to see me get jaw cancer and slowly watch the lower half of my face rot off, which is just the kind of class act these guys are. And so they finally backed off enough that I could get up and fix myself some food. But that said, there's all sorts of good news today. I had spent many hours of the day today. Well, I guess I'll start off by saying that I'm entitling this report, the cracks in the system are widening, or the cracks in the program are widening. I spent many hours today defending myself, just trying to figure out more exactly is the structure of this organization, this project. Where are they in the hierarchy of mafia and deep state? How many are left, and who are they, etc. And I have to say, I had thought I had heard the loudest decibel level of ranting, cussing, and screaming, but it went to a new high today. And with an operation like this, it's about the money. And, because that's what this has been for this pack of jackals all along, when I was thrown to them like a piece of raw meat. And so what are the signs? Earlier in the day, I heard once again that sort of tinny-sounding voice of somebody who sounds like a state operative, sounds like he was coming through Skype. And I heard somebody else in that same general area below my apartment floor talking with one of the ringleaders. And several times I heard, it would be good for you to get out of the country. And then immediately below me were a couple of edgers, which are youths who I've learned they are getting paid something, because they do talk about having money and what they can afford and what they can't. But they're, as they were torturing me, they were talking about where they were going to go next. And, one said, well, I can stay in a motel for a while. And another said, I've found a room in a safe house. And so I hope that works out for them. I really do. And so there's so many little things I was hoping to remember about today. I heard from another place below the boards, from another direction, it sounded like there's sort of an overseer of a lot of different mafia operations below the city of Eugene, of which this is just one of the projects. And when I talk about the bosses, I mean just the bosses for this particular project of trying to torture me into becoming their remote sex slave object, which I've resisted 100%. And so this overseer sounded like he was chewing out one of the main bosses, and just in effect saying to him that you're making us all look bad. And then all day today I was just hearing my defenders saying, you have to let her go. And just a little while ago I heard this is a failed experiment. And then sometime between 1:30 and 3:30, when I was huddled once again in a fetal position in a Epsom salt bath, I heard so much screaming. When I turn on my vent, it acts almost like a megaphone, and I can hear more stuff going on below the floor. And amidst all the shouting and screaming and rage, I heard somebody say, "You're not even balancing the bills." And then I heard a burst of cussing of a young man approaching me, and all of a sudden, the torture really upped from all different sides. So I think what that was all about is that the young ones overhearing, the truth coming to light about how this operation is shaking apart and out of money, that they were doing one last ditch effort to try to break me, and they didn't. So I was able to get out of the bath, and they're still taking pot shots at me, but I was able to at least move around a bit, and one of my favorite things I heard today, again from one of the young edgers, is she totally overpowered us. So how do you like them apples? And this has been such if it weren't a horrible nightmare and excruciatingly painful, it's really fascinating to see how real power works. And if you're going to be a leader, you have to have certain attributes. Otherwise, if you're a leader with, some of the most awful state-of-the-art military weapons and a whole gang and a whole bunch of backers backing an operation to break a lone, friendless, for the most part, familyless, completely defenseless female, where your weapons are so advanced that they can be shot right through walls, floors, and ceilings, and create all sorts of terrible physical harm and emotional harm, since rape was a prime tool to try to crush me. And the woman can't see who they are, so they had every advantage on their side. And a fundamental rule about leadership is that followers will gravitate to a leader who is empowering, who's inspiring, who seems to sincerely have their best interest at heart, who's strong, walks their talk, has demonstrated that they're tough and can handle any initiating process presented to them. And so I heard another term today, the Crazy Eight, was what this holdout group is being called. So we know that there's 8 of them that are holding out, and I strongly suspect that maybe 3 or 4 of them are edgers who are hanging on mainly because they're getting paid. But the moment that they're not, they're going to get lost. And then it just seems like there's just really just one boss who was put in charge of this operation. I don't know why, because he has 0 leadership skills and is nothing but a ranting, raving, maniacal, insane person who doesn't have any sort of logical processes in his brain. And it's like, how in all the highest powers of the universe name did this guy get picked to be the boss? It's just been all about his insane, greedy obsession with me, which went far beyond business. A business-like attitude to it, becoming very personal. And I keep hearing people say, you're like paparazzi. You act like you're married to her. You act like you're in love with her. This is crazy. You're way too emotional. All this kind of stuff. And he's just everybody's miserable. Everybody's miserable who's still in the project, and everyone who's sort of an adjunct of the project, which a good number are my allies that maybe were once in the project participating, but now are my fierce defenders trying to help me to escape and save my life, because I've demonstrated a sincere, heartfelt desire to do the same for those ones who are sincerely trapped, which are the youngest ones, and to give the edgers that those ones that we're talking today. I suspect the older edgers are ones that can go up to the surface and can possibly shift for themselves once they're up there. At first, a more limited and struggling way, because I think the reason they got sucked into this is that they didn't have a lot of resources in the first place. So that's how things are standing, and I even heard somebody say, "Shoot, she's gonna get out," and I hope that meant not just the bathtub, but this whole horrific dystopian charade that I have had to endure for years now. All right, so I'm hoping, one more thing I'm remembering is I'm hoping that as everyone falls away, that this one bully, who's probably a narcissist, will feel too vulnerable in his isolation and his outcast position to find it in his interest to continue to assault me, and hopefully he'll run out of money, so he won't be able to, and nobody will like him enough to loan him money. And I even heard something not about money, but I heard something said to him that nobody wants to work with you, or something to that effect. So that's how it stands up to this point. So let's all set intentions to take this down. All right. Thanks, everybody who's so impassioned and helping me to get free. Really appreciate it. Bye for now.